So welcome everybody. This is the special interest group for PnP sites Core and PowerShell. So mainly on the .NET development side. We do have a special interest group also for SharePoint Framework and JavaScript, which is also meeting bi-weekly, but obviously in a slightly different weeks than these ones. And this is the April 19th edition. There's a lot of actually PnP Core team members are currently, well, at least two of us, two of them are in DC in the conference, and a few others are on vacation and so on. So there won't be that many people joining today, which is absolutely fine as well. We do not have a massive amount of content to go through, but there's some announcements which we actually wanted to go through around new content and new elements. And I was actually waiting for Bert to join the call, but it might be that Bert is having some technical issues as well, because he was planning to talk about the portal guidance section. So agenda for today, we'll quickly have a look on the existing month statistics, and we do know that it's like, okay, why are we even interested about this statistics? But it's more around showing the community that you're not alone using the PnP. So there's quite a lot of other customers using the PnP also in the production, and that's why we always have one slide around the usage of the PnP components. Then we're going to talk about the SharePoint Online Portal guidance, which actually went live today in MSDN. And I'm going to show that one in practice, and it is actually guidance. It's not really samples at this point. It's more around written guidance in MSDN, which is 5 pages explaining, let's say, proven practices from a real-world deployments around how to build WCM classic publishing portals in SharePoint Online. So kind of a pinpointing challenges and what not to do and what to do when you're implementing those kind of things. We do know that there's a lot of demand for this one, so we took some resources and time to actually write these articles out. We do have also relatively new announcements on the support for pound and percent signs in SharePoint Online related on file and folder uploading and file and folder handling. So there's one slide around that one in the deck as well. And one reminder related on the schema design, which is in progress. So we are working on a new PnP PowerShell PnP Provisioning Engine schema, which evidently means that the PnP Provisioning Engine will have new capabilities after the schema has been defined as well. So kind of a reminder on that one for requesting additional people or requesting additional people to give feedback on that one. Give me 1 second. Bert seems to be that Bert is having difficulties to get in. So Frank, if you are up for it, can you actually invite Bert on the call? So thanks.
I'm sorry, Vesa. What was that? I missed that.
Yeah, surprise. So can you invite Bert on the call? Bert is having some technical difficulties, so he can actually go through the portal guidance. Thanks, Frank. Good. So let's actually get started on the first slide. And the first slide was, like mentioned, around the kind of a statistics. And this is really fast kind of a summary where we are in April. And April looks again a growth month for the PnP usage. We're already at 3,625 tenants using PnP across the world. And there has been already 25,761 unique visitors for the past 2 weeks in GitHub, and that seems to be landing somewhere around that number because it's an average 2 weeks from the current moment. And the views in GitHub is already 156,000, so there's quite a lot of people actually watching what are we doing across the SharePoint repositories and the PnP repos. The PnP Provisioning Engine is already has been already used in this month in 898 tenants, which is pretty impressive considering the fact that we are halfway through the month and we do not have all of the statistics yet for the whole month. So we're going to hit something like 1,300 or 1,500 on the provisioning engine. On the HTTP requests, we just jumped above 1 billion HTTP requests going through the PnP Core component and the PowerShell yesterday, which means that was it's only 2 weeks pretty much 2 weeks numbers. So we're pretty close hitting 2 billion HTTP requests going through the PnP Core and the PnP PowerShell for this month. Interesting to see if we can actually hit that. But that's really around the let's say the statistics. Maybe one thing to mention on the top countries, there's some changes over there, top countries based on the HTTP request. So Sweden and Finland are catching up, and Germany went actually down from the top 5. So if you are from Germany, now is your chance to actually get your country back on the list of top 5 countries based on HTTP requests. No, never mind. That's kind of a joke, but anyway. Good. Let's actually get to the right content. And did we get Bert on the call? No, we didn't. So
I'm working on it.
Okay. Yep. So for a reason or another, Bert cannot actually get to the call. This is always the challenge when you're dog fooding, or could be the challenge when you're dog fooding. Let's see if I can actually invite him as well. And with dog fooding, what I mean with that one is that I know that Bert is on the same model as well. We're always using the latest and greatest builds, and every now and then, obviously, when builds are coming out of the development teams, there might be some bugs before we're getting them out. So there might be some unexpected situations. But it seems to be that Bert is having technical issues, which is fine. I can actually show this one in practice as well. So what we essentially released today to MSD, and I'm going to show this one in practice by sharing my screen so you can actually see what's precisely available. So there's 5 specific articles related on how to build a SharePoint Online, or how to build a portal in SharePoint Online. And this really concentrates on building portals using the WCM technologies, essentially using the SharePoint where the publishing feature is enabled. The modern portals are coming at some point. We do not have a exact date and a schedule. Well, there is, but I'm not allowed to share anything. But we know that there's a modern portals coming as well. But this guidance is mainly for, well, it is only for the classic portals, so publishing feature implementations. The portal sites, well, technically the portal sites can use modern pages, but that's obviously debatable. But this guidance is essentially, like mentioned, it is a set of 5 articles, concentrates on performance, information architecture, navigation, data aggregation guidance, branding, and portal go-live considerations. And the whole point of this one is that we've been working with a lot of large customers related on their global deployments and their global portals. And we obviously learn a lot about the classic or common mistakes or common design challenges, what this portal might have, and we wanted to actually get the initial set of articles live. All of these are available in MSDN, and we absolutely welcome feedback on this as well. So let me actually share my screen and show you where this can be found. So I'm going to jump on my screen, or one of my screens, and let's wait for the sharing to actually start. Yes, I will get you the link as well. But so easiest way to get here, and just thank you, Joel, for that one. So easiest way to get here is either to use AKMS, SPPNP, MSDN. Is the easiest way to get there. I can actually show, let me zoom that again. That's the easiest way to land on the landing page of the PnP MSDN. And then if I click that one, I will actually land on this page, which is exactly what we're seeing in here. And in here, if you go down on branding and site provisioning, building well-performing SharePoint Online Portals, you can actually find the guidance available. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages and a summary page and explaining what are we actually what this content is and why do we actually want to share that. But as an example on the performance guidance, this is a relatively long article. which concentrates on stuff like anti-patterns, which you should not be doing, introductions on the changes and considerations, general performance guidance and client-side applications, so telemetry, client browser impact, client environment and network topology impact, data request patterns, resource files, CDN, AJAX, JavaScript, high-volume pages, and also how to implement a client-side data access layer, which is typically one thing what people don't really consider when they start implementing these portals. And essentially what this means is that you should consider the caching and you should have one centralized location where the data is being loaded. So if you have multiple web parts or widgets or whatever you want to call them on a portal page, they can access the same cache and the same data layer accessing the data. So if there's multiple, let's say, web parts using or needed to show the same data, they can actually get the same cached data from a single location. But that's a good example of one guidance, and this page is relatively long and there's a lot of considerations. It does not contain explicit code. This is more around what you should be thinking, what you should be considering, what are the learnings, what not to do, and what to do on the implementation. And the same applies also on the information architecture, not as big structure, so showing anti-patterns, considerations, how to design the structure, taxonomies, and all of that. And for all of this content, you can absolutely easily contribute back as well. So if you don't like something what's mentioned here, we absolutely want your feedback. So if you don't agree on something which is here, or you can find an issue, or there's a typo, or there's a mistake, you can absolutely contribute back on this one. So all of these articles have a contribute link, which is redirecting directly to the GitHub, where we have the actual document. And then it's just a matter of either writing an issue or maybe a pull request or suggestion, and up to you on how do you want to provide the feedback back. And hopefully that's kind of interesting for the community. And let me actually get one more time. I haven't actually created, maybe I should have created a simple AKMS link for this one. So let's actually create that, share that link one more time. Hey. It is actually with 2 S's, but anyway, and not with 3. And there's Nigel has a question around some of the topics. Maybe seems to be, I might be getting my IM messages in a completely messed up order, unfortunately. Yes, I am. So I'm getting stuff in a completely different order. Interesting. Seems to be that I'm having a nice dog food issue, but that's fine. But anyway, so articles are live. They're live today, and we will release a Twitter notifications and Facebook stuff probably within the next 30 minutes or within 1 hour. So we get this announced that it's actually available. But like mentioned, your feedback is absolutely welcome. And if you don't agree on something, please let us know, and we can absolutely have a discussion in the issue list in the GitHub or in the tech community site as well. Or if you have a question on why are you saying something, we can more than willing to explain why the recommendation is defined as it is. So please let us know. And now Bert has arrived. Yes, Bert has arrived as a guest. Great timing.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, we can.
Oh, yeah.
So did you want to...
Wondrous.
Yes, so I just shared and showed what was released earlier today. Anything you want to actually mention on this one? Just about to actually move back on the slides.
Well, I think just reiterating what you just said, like this is the first iteration. is based on feedback that we have, on experiences that we have from working with customers, creating portals. But obviously our experience is not covering everything. So we would encourage feedback, additional thinking points, additional content you want to add. If you have a sample code that can be used to kind of show how to implement certain patterns, great. Would also love to see that. Sure. Because today it is about guidance about patterns. We don't yet have samples, but we're looking into also extending this with more kind of hands-on samples, so which you can take for your own portal projects.
Yes, and one maybe consideration what Bert just said is that this guidance and work obviously comes from a real life work what we've done with the large customers. Now the challenge is in the world of large customers, and that's really a massive challenge. Well, I wouldn't say a massive challenge, but it's a classic challenge within a SharePoint Online. There are smaller customers, mid-sized customers, and large customers, and some of the guidance might not fit to a smaller customer, it might fit for the larger customer. So things are never black and white. It really depends again on the objectives of the projects and objectives of and business requirements of the deployment. But if there's anything specific, a mistake, if you have a smaller deployment and you don't agree on something, please let us know, like mentioned. And good feedback from Joel, so thank you. So this was meant to address the main issues what we were saying, because quite often for the past, I would say, Bert, I would say 3 years.
3 years, yes.
We've been working with really large customers, the largest customers out there, and slightly smaller customers on building these actually. And both me and Bert, as an example, have background from on-premises customers working on portal projects as well. So there's a lot of knowledge on that one. And for the past 2 to 3 years, quite often we've been asked to help too late when it's already in a bad condition.
Yes, that's important. So we've seen too many projects suffer from performance perspective mainly.
Yes.
And with this guidance, we hope that there is like a clear set of do's and don'ts when you start implementing portals. And as I said, it's not black and white, meaning there's a gray zone as well. So you have to still interpret it a little bit, but at least you have something to start from, and you can point your customer like, this is why we do this, dear customer. This is why we need to do these things. Not making things more complex, but if you don't do this, then you'll suffer performance issues.
Yes.
So now you have some official guidance that you can point your customers to as well.
Yep, absolutely. Good. So let me flip back on the slides. Here we go. And we have few slides, and like mentioned when we started the call, we do not have a massive amount of content today, but I think that was already a great, let's say, announcements in quotes, new guidance available in MSDN, which should be highly helpful for those who are working on portal deployments. Now, few other things. So quite recently we added a guidance, and this relates on announcements or the March CSAM upgrade or change, or we'll see March CSAM release, where we added a support for percent and pound signs in a file and folder naming in our API surface. And there is a new guidance article available in MSDN around this one as well. And so if you're an ISV, or if you have a solution which is doing, for example, migrations of files, this might be something which you probably want to have a look on. And I'll paste in also the URL in the window, because that way it's much more easier to find what I'm looking for. This is really around low-level API changes on making sure that if you are using, if you're using SharePoint or OneDrive, you can still have percent or pound signs in the file names, which wasn't the case in the past, but with the new updates, you can actually do that. And Yes, Ralph is pointing out that there appears to be inconsistencies in how spaces are handled in various APIs. Will these be fixed? That is the intention. Now, the problem of these changes related on percent and spaces and space names in this APIs is that we do want to minimize the probability of breaking anything up. So if we would just make a change on an existing API saying, hey, we changed this to behave in a certain way, it might actually break off any of the existing deployments. And that's really the challenge with SharePoint Online, considering the millions and millions of tenants and million developers out there who are doing customizations for SharePoint. So we can't really do breaking changes in some of these APIs. And that's why we've been rather introducing new APIs up as part of this change to make sure that you can still have a percent and pound signs in the file naming as well. The guidance itself isn't maybe super, let's say, easily adaptable. We do recommend that you read the background article behind the guidance itself, which is linked in the MSTN article. And personally, I personally actually even haven't even written this guidance. I was just the guy who pushed it out from GitHub. So I helped a colleague from engineering to get it out. But obviously, more than happy to take feedback on this one as well. Good. Then moving along on things. Now, new PnP provisioning schema design is in progress. So this is something where we would need your input still. We have a lot of issues and a lot of suggestions. I wouldn't call them issues. I would call them suggestions and feedback already in our PnP provisioning schema, PnP provisioning schema repo around what should be added as a capability to the engine or / to the provisioning schema. And the PnP provisioning engine works in a way that we first always define the schema. The schema itself define the data object model structure and the capabilities which can be then implemented using the engine. And the schema also defines the serialization format when you're serializing your template to JSON or XML. And that's why we always need to have the schema. And we are the schema itself, the lookup column and lookup column discussion or lookup field discussion is taking into account as part of the schema design. But right now, our understanding is that already currently the engine does work with a proper lookup columns as long as you're pointing to the root web within a site collection. If that's not the case, and there might be a issue on that one already in this site's core repo, but we would ask that to get noted as well. We do have a lookup handling already in the provisioning engine. Publishing pages, we do support exporting publishing assets, but provisioning publishing pages is actually within the new schema version. So that's in the queue of getting added. That was actually a contribution, I can't remember from whom, which is already a pending pull request in the provisioning schema repo, which is planned to get included in the new version. And just to make sure that I get that one as well as a link to the iWindow, so we can get your feedback if you have anything what's missing. There we go. And I'm just double checking added ability to provision publishing pages. That's from a person called, so there is a pull request already pending on that one, already from December, from Stephanie Magne from Mosaic, from French. So that's definitely going to be included in the new schema version. We were unable to get that pull request yet being fully merged because we don't want to introduce additional schemas without throughout testing of the engine. So that has been pending for the new schema release. Good. But that's actually all about what we were planning to do today. And I do apologize that I didn't do a Twitter tweets on the full agenda and planning what we were planning to do today. But if you don't have any questions, feel free to jump away from the call as well. If you have any feedback, comments, suggestions, feel free to unmute yourself or write stuff in the Ion window. And more than happy to answer anything on SharePoint Dev. Oh, something mentioned at one meeting recently, something about Microsoft using React for SPFX Dev or SharePoint Online Dev in general. So we, from Nigel, so we are using React native. So for SharePoint native stuff, out-of-the-box stuff, we have chosen to use React as part of the first-party client-side web part development. You can use Angular, you can use Ember, you can use whatever you want, or Knockout. We just needed to make a decision on that one. And as part of that decision, we're then working on Office UI Fabric React components. And that dog food is definitely causing some issues, because now Frank is saying for me, I ask a question above, can anybody provide an answer, which is interesting. So my my Ion window is causing, this is actually pretty cool. I have no idea who's asking these questions and on which order.
I think it's Ralph.
Okay, that was Ralph. Cool.
Yep.
So you need to, Frank, be my eyes on the questions. There is a question around, after running update module, I noticed that I have multiple versions of SharePoint PnP PowerShell. Is this expected behavior? Am I doing something wrong? I think it's actually expected behavior. To be fair, we don't have Irvin on the call, so I can't 100% confirm that unless Bert or Frank can actually confirm that. Technically, I would actually recommend to remove the previous version and only keep the latest version. That would be just making sure that everything is working absolutely 100% reliably. Yes, that's the version. That's the question from Nigel. And my Ion window looks pretty horrible. I need a fix for this. Okay, that's from Ralph.
I'm looking at other questions for you, Bert. There appears to be inconsistencies on how spaces are handled in various APIs.
Yeah, we talked about that one already. Yes. And it seems to be that I'm actually getting the messages in the right order, but I'm not getting from where whom they are sending them. So. And because my Ion window is telling me that the latest message was sent on 20 minutes ago, which is actually kind of funny. Okay, thanks. Somebody has seen this issue as well. So maybe I need to reinstall, or which is always a challenge when you're dog fooding, because we have a slightly different process of how we get this built. Any other questions, comments? Obviously, if it's a JavaScript development, SharePoint framework specific question, we prefer those to be asked in the other special interest group, but happy to answer those in here as well. And then, if you have anything on the PnP site core or provisioning or PowerShell, absolutely welcome. There's a question around: are there any plans to expand PnP to include teams? There isn't explicit plans for that. So originally, this is kind of an interesting story as well, which probably shouldn't say out loud, but originally PnP was Office 365 Dev PnP. And then after a certain changes and realignments, we have been now kind of realigned ourselves as a SharePoint patterns and practices, because majority of our content has been on the SharePoint side. Apparently, however, now it seems to be that a lot of the other teams are getting highly interested on this model, and they would like to start piggybacking on our community engagement, which is absolutely fine for us. So we'll see where we'll be within a year. Right now, in a short time frame, we're not looking into spending time on the teams as such. On the other hand, we do have some examples related on, let's say, the bot framework implementations as well. So we're not actually saying that you cannot deploy or share your samples around the PnP on Teams. That's absolutely welcome, but I don't think we will be using core Teams time for those samples. See you all next time, PnP rocks. That's a good question. Any other questions, comments, something which is bothering you on SharePoint development and which you have always wanted to ask but never have the guts to do so? Feel free to ask anything. And I can answer if I can answer on the question. Will there be any official best practices guidance around modern and classic site usage? Don't know if this isn't already available. All I want to hear is go for the new stuff, but everything that's old. So we do have guidance on the modern experiences in MSDN, and this is actually explicitly saying that go to the modern whenever your business requirements can be achieved with the modern experiences. That's really the key point. This is not a black and white statement, and most likely we will never say, no, the modern is good enough for you, go modern, because what does it mean? It means that can you achieve your business requirements and functional requirements within the modern side? At some point, absolutely you can. When that's debatable. So we will gradually get that stuff deployed on the modern experiences. And good, now we're starting to get questions. When do we get SharePoint framework to on-premises? I think we promised to do that during this fiscal. So that's coming, not this fiscal, this calendar year. So that's coming later on 2017. And always the big announcements and big things for on-premises happens with the feature pack. So somewhere in there, we will get SharePoint framework in on-premises as well. That's the objective. Any timeline for using user custom actions in modern team sites? No public timelines right now. It is something what we're working on, which is visible in our roadmap for SPFX as well, which reminded me, if you're not familiar of this one, SPFX roadmap, where we actually are publicly saying what are we currently working on as well. So the user custom actions in modern team sites is in the pipeline, and we're working on that one. And actually probably shouldn't even say how well it's working already in the development, or not working, or working on not working. Not going to actually give you any insights, but it's already in progress. So we're working on that one. In our product development or engineering, we need to be, however, 100% sure that whenever we release that out, it is sustainable and we don't break you in the future. So there has to be some testing still. There's a good comment around if you are in on-premises in SharePoint 2016, it's hard to distinguish what's for SharePoint Online and what's for what can be accomplished with PnP in on-premises, which is a valid comment. We do acknowledge that is a challenge because majority of our samples are for SharePoint Online. It is how would I put it? It is unfortunately a resourcing challenge, to be fully honest, to explicitly always call out which works and in what way on where. But the PnP PowerShell, PnP Sites Core, and all of those, they do have a SharePoint 2016 version and SharePoint 2013 version as well. So that stuff works in on-prem as long as you use the right version. So the home page for default theme site will be still classic, and when you do add a new page, you get a modern page, which is, yes, that's highly confusing. But both modern and classic modes are fully supported over the next months. For example, I tried to edit a view yesterday using a classic page, and the save button was generating a JavaScript error and not saving. That seems to be a bug. So the objective is that it doesn't, if you enable, for example, the modern pages, or if you use the modern pages in the classic theme sites, they're fully supported if they are shipped into GA. If you're seeing random JavaScript errors, they are absolutely bugs, which we need to get resolved. And let's actually test that link, just out of curiosity. No, I haven't actually. Okay, that link was wrong. The roadmap link was wrong. So let me get you the right link on that one. That went really well. Well, that at least is working. So it seems to be that I haven't actually created a KMS link for that. So, yeah. Okay, now somebody was fixing that already. I missed it. Good. Connected SharePoint framework web parts. In the queue, in the development, should be out, how would I put it, relatively soon as well in certain level. Now, what does the connected SharePoint web part actually means is always debatable. So does it mean that the end user needs to be able to create connections, or does it mean that the web parts are able to communicate between each other? And that's always that's kind of a specific details on the questions or the functionality. We will have native support for both of them sooner or later. Most likely the web parts are able to communicate first between each other technically, and then and with the help of SharePoint framework, making that fast and everything else, and then at some point we'll enable the end users to be able to do actual connections, like you were able to do back in SharePoint 2007, and implement the stuff using the web part framework for .NET 2.0. Then those were the days. I was having trouble running PnP bits on my Azure VM that were not on Windows Server. Was this fixed so it can just use Windows 10? Yes, the PnP bits. If the PnP bits are referring to the PnP PowerShell, absolutely, you should be able to install. On the latest version, we did have challenges around using the PnP PowerShell and the PnP Core in certain environments which did not have a Visual Studio Office extensions installed on them. And I think Bert is dropped on from the call. Okay, we fixed that on, was it on February release? So if you're using the latest version of the PnP PowerShell, those things have been already fixed. So the PnP PowerShell is fully independent from an MSI perspective. And I'm going to just double check the schedule on that one. We fixed that on 3 months ago, roughly, or 2 months ago. So that has to be in the Feb release. Case, SharePoint Framework web part on a classic page. The web part uses components from Office UI Fabric, but it seems like SPFX web part includes another version of Office UI Fabric than SharePoint Online in general. Am I missing something? That is absolutely 100% valid comment. So, as part of the GA release of SharePoint Framework, we did actually announce that the integration of the React is not quite there yet, although with Office UI Fabric. And we've been working on that one after the GA release. To make sure that the future version challenges of future version releases of SharePoint Online wouldn't cause issues for anything which has been developed. And that has been actually fixed. So there is a new version available in the NPM. So if you install a newest version of the SharePoint framework, that will work properly. And we have even written a guidance around this one. So give me 1 second when I'm finding that again. And that's in the SharePoint framework guidance. If I can actually find that, went live pretty soon. And it is actually this one, pasting the Office UI Fabric integration guidance there. And this is relatively new thing. There is a big black marker on the front. You should be using the latest version of the packages. And let me scroll back. Ability to programmatically install SPFX web part on the web or site collection level. That's actually in the roadmap as well. So a few weeks back, I was just writing a specification for it, and we are absolutely working on making that happen. So you are able to then programmatically install SharePoint Framework web parts and add-ins as well. So this, because the SharePoint Framework web parts and SharePoint Framework is taking advantage of the add-in framework, all of these changes will be then valid for add-ins as well. So we're working on making that happen. It's not a massive deal and a massive change. We're just it's waiting for prioritizations and making the actual changes on the code level, but absolutely coming. And the requirement for the connected web parts was on a master detail view, and that's, yes, classic requirement. Now, is it a master detail where person is the one who's, let's say, making those connections, or is it a master detail which works when you have two different web parts on a page, and they will automatically recognize that, hey, the other one is here, and let me bypass the data. That's really the details on a connected web part scenario. Scrolling down, I want to know one thing. One thing clear: provisioning using PnP PowerShell and .NET Console application managed code both use the exact same provisioning engine beneath. You are absolutely correct on that. So it doesn't matter if you're using the NuGet package, which is the assembly, which is essentially the PnP Core assembly, or the PnP PowerShell. The PnP PowerShell is shipping the same assembly inside of the MSIs or the installation, and then they are using exactly the same version, exactly the same package. The only difference which you might theoretically run into is that if you're using the assembly version, you can open your connection to SharePoint Online using app only. With PowerShell, you're always in a user context, so the behavior might be slightly different if you're in app only mode or if you're in the user context. That's the only kind of a difference. But really, again, depends how do you use the managed code approach. Good. Any other questions? Now we lost even Frank. And I still got a thanks message from Frank. Yeah, dog fooding version, clearly. Good. If we do not have random or urgent questions, that's absolutely fine. We can close up slightly earlier today. For next time, as least we should have a slightly more interesting information on the PnP PowerShell and the core as well. And I'm going to follow up on the Iron Windows still. Is there any type of decision tree to help guide new projects when to use SPFX and when not to? That's a good question. Answer is really no, unfortunately not on that level. It really depends on the business requirements. But in 2 weeks, we should have the new schema available or a draft on that one, and we can actually go through what are the things truly which will be implemented then in the engine as well, and we should have other stuff in the queue as well. So slightly lighter session this time, but next time we should have additional information available. But thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your contributions, suggestions, feedback, and all of that. And please go have a look on the portal guidance, which is now out, and let us know if there's something which you do not agree, because that's the easiest way for us to fix that. Or then we can actually have a discussion. Why don't you agree on that? And maybe we can learn from each other by sharing our experiences. That's really super valuable around the community engagements. But thank you everybody, and let's see you in next session. Thank you. Bye-bye.